My name is Corinne Ouellette. I'm 32 years old, and 3 days ago, my sister sent me an audio file that shattered everything I thought I knew about family. The message came with a taunt. Guess who has a surprise for you? 4 minutes and 23 seconds. That's how long it took to destroy 32 years of believing I was loved. In the recording, my parents laughed about me. She really thinks we love her. What we love is her money. My father called me the naive one. My sister asked how long I'd keep paying. For 8 years, I gave my family $384,000. I thought I was being a good daughter. Turns out, I was just an ATM with feelings. Before I continue, if this story resonates with you, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely want to hear what happened next. Where are you watching from right now? Drop your city and local time in the comments. I'd love to know who's here with me. Now, let me take you back 4 days to Tuesday night when my phone buzzed with a message that would change everything. Tuesday, 9:47 p.m. I was still at my desk on the 47th floor of Willis Tower, reviewing quarterly projections for Lakefront Capital Partners. The Chicago skyline glittered through floor-to-ceiling windows, but I barely noticed anymore. After 6 years at the firm, the view had become wallpaper. My phone lit up. Madison, I should explain something first. My life looked successful on paper. Senior financial analyst, $127,000 annual salary, corner of the open plan office with the best light. But every month, like clockwork, a significant portion of that salary vanished into my family's accounts. It started 8 years ago, 3 weeks after I landed my first real job. Mom called crying about an emergency. They needed $500 for a car repair. I transferred it within the hour, grateful I could finally help. That 500 became 1,000, then 2,400 every month for their mortgage in Naperville. Then Madison's tuition at DePaul, $78,000 over 4 years. Then living expenses because Dad's back injury forced early retirement. I never questioned it. Good daughters help their families. That's what I told myself every time I opened my banking app, every time I calculated whether I could afford dinner out with friends, usually no. Every time I renewed the lease on my 450 square foot studio apartment because saving for a down payment seemed impossible. $384,200. I know the exact number because I calculated it that night, sitting in my dim apartment, listening to my parents laugh about how easy I was to manipulate. But I'm getting ahead of myself. That Tuesday night, I was still the version of Corinne who believed she was loved. The version who saw Madison's name on her phone and smiled, thinking maybe her little sister just wanted to chat. I was wrong. Madison is 26. She graduated from DePaul 3 years ago with a marketing degree I paid for, and she's been finding herself ever since. That's how Mom phrases it. Finding herself apparently requires living rent-free in our parents' house, posting Instagram stories from brunch spots I've never been to, and cycling through entry-level jobs every 8 months because she gets bored. I used to defend her. She's young, she'll figure it out. Some people need more time. What I didn't know, what I couldn't have known, was that while I was working 60-hour weeks and eating microwave dinners alone in my studio, Madison was shopping at Nordstrom with a credit card attached to my account. Mom had added her as an authorized user 6 months ago. She never asked me. I found out when I checked my statement after seeing the audio file's timestamp. But that discovery came later. That Tuesday, I still believed my family loved me. I still believed the sacrifices meant something. I still believed that when Mom called me her responsible one and Madison her free spirit, it was affection, not a code for who pays and who plays. The family group chat that week had been typical. Madison complained about being broke while wearing a $400 jacket in her selfie. Mom reminded everyone about the 35th anniversary party on Sunday. Dad sent a thumbs-up emoji and nothing else. And then, at 9:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, Madison sent me a private message. A single line. Guess who has a surprise for you? Below it, An audio file. 4 minutes, 23 seconds. File name. Family Talk. M4A. I should have waited. Should have finished my work, gone home, listened with a glass of wine and emotional armor in place. Instead, I pressed play immediately. I need you to understand what was supposed to happen that Sunday. Mom had been planning her 35th wedding anniversary party for 6 months. The venue, Oakbrook Hills Country Club, the kind of place where membership costs more than my annual rent. 85 guests were invited. Aunts, uncles, cousins, neighbors from the church, Dad's former colleagues from the electrical union, Mom's book club. Everyone who mattered in their social universe would be there, watching Patricia and Donald Willett celebrate 3.5 decades of marriage. The event was scheduled for Sunday at 6:00 p.m. White tablecloths, crystal chandeliers, a banner that read, 35 years of love. Mom had chosen the menu, the flowers, the seating chart. She'd chosen her dress, navy blue with pearl accessories, 3 months in advance. And she'd chosen the centerpiece of the evening, a speech from me, their eldest daughter, followed by the presentation of their special gift. Here's the thing. I didn't plan that gift. 2 weeks before the recording, I'd noticed a charge on my visa ending in 4721. Liberty Travel. $28,450. A 3-week European tour. Paris, Rome, Barcelona. Departing in October. When I called Mom to ask about it, she laughed. Surprise! You're giving us the trip of a lifetime for our anniversary. Isn't that wonderful? We already told everyone. I was so stunned I didn't argue. Classic Corinne. Don't make waves. Don't embarrass anyone. Just absorb the cost and smile. That was the plan. Show up Sunday, give my speech, hand over the trip details, watch my parents beam while everyone applauded my generosity. Then Madison sent me the file, and everything I thought I understood about being a good daughter burned to the ground in 4 minutes and 23 seconds. I pressed play. The recording was tinny, slightly muffled, captured on a phone hidden somewhere in our parents' kitchen, based on the background clatter of dishes. I recognized the space immediately. The echo off the old tile. The hum of the refrigerator Dad keeps saying he'll replace. Mom spoke first. She really thinks we love her? A laugh. Light, casual, like she was commenting on the weather. What we love is her money. My chest compressed. I stopped breathing without realizing it. Dad's voice came next, with a chuckle I'd heard 1,000 times, but never like this. Well, she's always been the naive one. Then Madison, my baby sister, the girl I'd carried on my shoulders at county fairs, taught to ride a bike, defended when kids at school were mean. How long do you think she'll keep paying? Mom answered without hesitation. As long as she believes we need her. That's her weakness. She needs to feel needed. More laughter. The sound of a cabinet opening. Life continuing normally while they dismantled mine. I stopped the recording at 4 minutes, 12 seconds. I couldn't hear the last 11 seconds. Not then. My studio apartment was dark. The Chicago skyline glowed through my single window, indifferent to my collapse. I sat on the edge of my bed, just sat there, phone in hand, screen black, for 10 minutes without moving. No tears, no screaming. Just silence and the slow, devastating arithmetic of realizing that $384,000 hadn't bought love. It had bought contempt. My phone buzzed. Madison again. Did you listen? I stared at her message for a long time, then I typed back 4 words. So do I. I hit send, and something in me shifted. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I listened to the recording 3 more times, taking notes on my laptop like I was preparing a financial audit. Which, in a way, I was. Every word, every laugh, every casual cruelty, I documented it all. Then I opened my banking app. 8 years of transactions, thousands of line items. I created a spreadsheet at 1:00 a.m., categorizing every transfer I'd ever made to anyone with my last name. Mortgage payments, $230,400. Madison's tuition, $78,000. Living expenses, $47,300. Emergency loans never repaid, $28,500. The total glowed on my screen, $384,200. I thought about what that money could have been: a down payment on a condo, a retirement account, a vacation, even one vacation, anywhere in the world. A nicer apartment without roaches in the walls. Instead, I had a 450-square-foot studio and parents who called me naive behind my back. At 3 a.m., I sent an email to Rebecca Torres. She's been my best friend since we were roommates at Northwestern, back when I believed the world was fair and family meant everything. Now she's a lawyer at Morrison & Associates, specializing in financial disputes. I need to talk. It's about my family and $380,000. Her reply came at 3:12 a.m. She'd always been a night owl. Coffee tomorrow, 8 a.m. Intelligentsia on Randolph. I'm already clearing my schedule. At 3:47 a.m., Madison replied to my "so do I" message. What's that supposed to mean? I stared at those laughing emojis for a long time. My little sister, who'd sent me that recording not as a warning or an apology, but as entertainment, to see how I'd react, to watch me squirm. I turned off my phone. For the first time in 8 years, I chose silence over appeasement. Wednesday, 8 a.m. Intelligentsia Coffee, Randolph Street. Rebecca was already there when I arrived, 2 oat milk lattes on the table and her legal pad out. That's Rebecca, prepared for everything, even before she knows what she's preparing for. She's 33, Cuban-American, sharp enough to cut glass. We'd lived together for 3 years in a cramped off-campus apartment, eating ramen and dreaming about the lives we'd build. She'd gone on to Georgetown Law. I'd gone into finance. She'd never once asked me for money. "Play it," she said before I even sat down. I did. Rebecca listened with her lawyer face on, neutral, analytical, giving nothing away. When it finished, she sat back and let out a long breath. Financial exploitation within a family context. It's more common than you'd think, but that doesn't make it less devastating. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "I'm so sorry, Corinne." "Is it?" I hesitated. "Is the recording legal?" Madison made it, in their house. Illinois is a one-party consent state for recordings. Madison was present, so technically she consented by being there. It's admissible if you ever needed it to be. Rebecca pulled out her phone. "Send me the file. I want to check the metadata." I airdropped it to her. She opened it in some app I didn't recognize, scrolling through data. Timestamp shows last Sunday at 2:34 p.m. No signs of editing or splicing. This is authentic. The word hit me like a physical blow. Authentic. My parents' contempt, verified by metadata. What do I do? Rebecca looked at me with the steady gaze that made her a terrifying opposing counsel. "First, you freeze that credit card, today. Then you cancel that trip they booked without permission. And then?" She paused. "Then you decide what you want to happen next." Thursday, 8 a.m. I called Chase Bank from my desk at work, keeping my voice low and professional while my heart hammered against my ribs. "I need to freeze the visa ending in 4721, immediately." The representative asked security questions. I answered on autopilot. Yes, my mother's maiden name. Yes, the street I grew up on. Funny how family details become passwords, little keys to doors they can no longer open. "Your card is now frozen, Ms. Ouellette. Is there anything else?" 8:15 a.m. Liberty Travel. "I need to cancel reservation number LT2847591, a European tour booked under Patricia Ouellette." "I see that reservation, ma'am. Are you the card holder?" "Yes, Corinne Ouellette. The charge was made without my authorization." A pause. Keyboard clicking. "I can process that cancellation. You're within the 72-hour modification window, so you'll receive a full refund." $28,450 will be credited within 5 to 7 business days. 8:32 a.m. An email to payroll. Please cancel the recurring monthly transfer of $2,400 to the account ending in 6672, effective immediately. Send. 3 phone calls, 2 emails, 45 minutes. That's how long it took to dismantle 8 years of financial dependence. At 8:47 a.m., my phone buzzed with a notification from Chase. Declined transaction 890s at Nordstrom, card ending 4721. Madison trying to use my card. The timing felt almost poetic. I stared at the notification, waiting for guilt to arrive, waiting to feel the familiar pull of, but their family and you're overreacting, and what will people think? Nothing came. Just a strange, hollow clarity. For the first time in 8 years, I hadn't asked, what will mom think? I'd asked, what do I need to survive this? The answer was already in motion. Thursday, 2 o'clock p.m. My phone lit up with mom. I let it ring twice before answering. The first time in my life I'd ever hesitated. Corinne, honey. Her voice dripped sweetness, the kind I used to interpret as love. Is something wrong with your credit card? Madison said it got declined. I froze it. Silence. 3 full seconds. You froze it? A nervous laugh. Right before our anniversary? Is everything okay, sweetheart? I'm reviewing my finances, Mom. Just need to look at some charges. What charges? Her voice tightened. The trip? That's your gift to us, Corinne. We already told everyone. Aunt Ruth, the Hendersons, the whole book club. They're so impressed by your generosity. There it was. Not concern about me. Concern about appearances. The trip I didn't book? I kept my voice calm. The $28,000 trip you charged to my card without asking? We were going to tell you. It was supposed to be a surprise for you to give us. She spoke faster now, the charm curdling into something harder. You always want to do nice things for us. We were helping you. By spending my money without permission. Corinne, don't be dramatic. It's family. What's yours is mine, I finished. What's mine is mine. The silence that followed was the longest of my life. I don't know what's gotten into you. Her voice went cold, the temperature drop I'd learned to fear as a child. But I hope you work through it before Sunday. The whole family will be there. Don't embarrass us. Click. She hung up before I could respond. I sat at my desk, phone in hand, and realized something. I'd never heard my mother truly angry at me before, because I'd never given her a reason. Until now. Thursday, 7 o'clock p.m. Madison FaceTimed while sitting in what used to be my childhood bedroom. I recognized the faded lavender walls, the window overlooking the backyard. Mom had converted it into a guest room years ago, but Madison had colonized it temporarily after graduation, 3 years ago. Chère sœur, she drawled, using the French she'd picked up from 2 weeks in Montreal. You've caused quite the stir. Have I? Mom's been stress cleaning for 3 hours. Dad locked himself in the garage. She laughed, leaning back against my old pillows. I have to say, I didn't expect this reaction. You're usually so accommodating. Why did you send me that recording, Madison? She tilted her head, a smile playing at her lips. Honestly, I wanted to see what you'd do. You're always so perfect, so responsible, so I'm the good daughter. I was curious when you'd finally snap. So this was entertainment for you. Don't be dramatic. The same phrase Mom used, the same dismissive tone. I thought you'd cry, call Mom, and everything would smooth over by Sunday. I didn't think you'd actually do anything. What did they tell the family about the money I send? Madison shrugged. That you volunteer it? That you feel guilty for being more successful and want to help? That you insisted? She examined her manicure. The whole family thinks you're desperately seeking their approval through your wallet. My chest tightened, but I kept my face neutral. Are you coming Sunday? Madison asked. Mom's worried. Well, worried. Air quotes. She said if you don't show up and act normal, she'll call your boss. Mr. Harrison, tell him you're having a mental breakdown and the family's concerned. I ended the call without saying goodbye. But not before I started my phone's voice memo app. Recording, 3 minutes, 41 seconds. Friday. I went to work like it was any other day. Spreadsheets, meetings, a performance so convincing that my colleague Sarah asked if I wanted to grab lunch. Can't today, I said. Family stuff this weekend. She didn't ask more questions. Work Corinne and real Corinne had always been separate people. Today, they needed to stay that way. During lunch, I locked myself in a conference room and printed documents. 8 years of bank statements condensed into a 12-page summary. The email confirmation from Liberty Travel showing the cancellation and pending refund. Screenshots of Madison's "Guess who has a surprise for you" message. A transcript of the recording, each line marked with timestamps, certified by Rebecca. I bought a red folder from the office supply closet. Red felt appropriate. That evening, I knocked on Daniel Mercer's door, apartment 4C, directly below mine. He's 35, a freelance photographer, one of those genuinely kind people who remember your birthday without Facebook prompts. We'd become friends over shared laundry room complaints and occasional Thai takeout. "Can I ask you a huge favor?" He leaned against his doorframe, concerned. "Anything." "I need someone to come with me to an event on Sunday, a family party. I can explain on the way, but I need a witness, someone who isn't them." Daniel studied my face for a long moment. "This is serious. The most serious thing I've ever done." "Then I'm in." No hesitation. "What time do we leave?" We agreed on 5 o'clock p.m. Sunday. As I turned to go, he handed me a business card. "My therapist, Dr. Ellen Park. Whatever happens Sunday, you should talk to someone professional afterward. Not because you're broken, because this stuff leaves marks." I took the card. "Thank you for not telling me to forgive and forget." "Some things," Daniel said quietly, "shouldn't be forgotten." Saturday. My phone became a battlefield. 900 a.m. Aunt Ruth. "Corinne, sweetheart, your mother called. She's devastated. Whatever happened, I'm sure it's a misunderstanding. Family forgives, dear. That's what we do." 11:30 a.m. Uncle Frank. "Hey, kiddo, your dad mentioned you're having some financial troubles. Need a loan? I can wire you a few hundred to get through the month." Financial troubles. That's how they'd framed it. 2:00 p.m. Cousin Lisa. "Is it true you're not coming to the anniversary? Everyone's talking about it. Mom says Aunt Patricia's been crying all day." 4:30 p.m. Grandmother's landline. "Corinne, this is Grandma. I don't understand what's happening, but your mother is very upset. Please don't make a scene tomorrow. The family's reputation." I listened to each message without responding. The narrative was already solidified. Corinne was having a breakdown. Corinne was being selfish. Corinne was jeopardizing the family's special day because she had issues. Mom had worked fast. In 36 hours, she'd contacted every relative, seeding a story that painted her as the victim and me as the unstable daughter who needed managing. But then, at 6:47 p.m., a different message arrived. Grandma again, but this time on my voicemail. A private message, not the performative call she'd made earlier. "Corinne, it's Grandma. Alone this time." Her voice was quieter, older. "I don't know the whole story, and your mother, Patricia, has always had her ways. Whatever you're planning, just be careful, and know that I've always seen more than I've said." I saved that message. Something about it, the acknowledgement that my grandmother knew my mother wasn't perfect, cracked something in my chest. Not doubt, relief. One person in that family, at least, could see the truth. I just had to make sure the others saw it too. Sunday, 10 o'clock a.m. 8 hours before the party. Mom called. This time I answered immediately. "Corinne, no sweetness now, no honey, just steel wrapped in velvet. I'm going to give you one last chance. I'm listening. You will come to the party. You will give your speech. The one I wrote for you, which I'll email in an hour. You will smile and present our gift, and act like the grateful daughter everyone knows you are." She paused for emphasis. "And you will never mention that card situation again. Or? Or I call Richard Harrison, your CFO. I found his number on LinkedIn." Her voice curled with satisfaction. "I'll tell him my daughter is suffering from mental health issues, paranoia, delusions about her family. I'll express deep concern for her stability at work." I let the threat hang in the air. "You think I won't?" Mom continued. "Patricia Ouellette, devoted mother, worried about her troubled daughter? Who would doubt me, Corinne? Everyone at that office will look at you differently. Every promotion, every project, they'll wonder if you're really stable." I should have been terrified. 6 months ago, I would have been. Instead, I asked a question. "Are you recording this conversation, Mom?" She hesitated. "What?" "Because I am." Silence. Complete, shocked silence. "I've been recording since I answered. 3 minutes, 47 seconds so far." I kept my voice steady, professional. The voice I used in board meetings. "A recording of you threatening to sabotage my career, unless I comply with your demands. Combined with the recording Madison sent me, of you laughing about how I think you love me. I'd say I have quite a collection now." The line went dead. I looked at my phone. Recording saved. 4 minutes, 12 seconds. For the first time, I'd used their tactics against them, and it felt like freedom. Sunday, 2:00 p.m. 4 hours until the party. Daniel and I sat at my small kitchen table, eating sandwiches neither of us tasted. "Walk me through it again," he said. "I show up, I give a speech, but not the one she wants. I play the recording, I leave. I pushed lettuce around my plate. That's the plan." "And what's your best-case scenario?" I thought about it, really thought. "I don't need them to apologize. I don't expect them to change." The words came slowly, like I was discovering them as I spoke. "I just need them to hear the truth, from me, in front of everyone they've lied to, one time." And worst case? They call me crazy. They say I fabricated everything. They turn the whole family against me permanently. I shrugged. "But I have the evidence, bank records, metadata, the recording Madison sent willingly." Daniel nodded, processing. He hadn't judged, hadn't told me to take the high road or be the bigger person. He'd just asked what I needed and shown up. "Can I be honest?" he said finally. "Please." Most people would want revenge, humiliation, blood. He met my eyes. "You just want to be heard. That's actually really healthy. Messed up situation, healthy response." I laughed, the first real laugh in days. "My therapist will be thrilled." Speaking of which, he slid Dr. Park's card across the table. "I called her office. She has an opening Tuesday morning. I may have given her a preview." "You didn't have to do that." "I know." He smiled. "That's why I did it." At 4:30, I put on a navy dress. Simple, elegant, battle armor. Daniel drove. The red folder sat in my lap, solid as a promise. We didn't speak during the drive. Some silences say everything. Oak Brook Hills Country Club. Sunday, 5:45 p.m. The parking lot was already full. BMWs, Lexuses, the occasional Mercedes. My parents' social circle took presentations seriously. I'd borrowed Daniel's Honda Civic, which felt like showing up to a black tie event in jeans. Appropriate, somehow. The grand ballroom glowed through tall windows, crystal chandeliers, white tablecloths, a banner in elegant script. 35 years of love, Patricia and Donald. 10 round tables, 85 guests, flower arrangements that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. This was my mother's kingdom. She stood at the entrance in her navy dress and pearls, greeting guests with the warm smile she'd perfected over decades of church functions and neighborhood barbecues. The devoted wife, the loving mother, the woman everyone admired. She saw me approach. Her smile didn't waver, not in front of witnesses, but her eyes went sharp. Corinne. She pulled me into a hug, her arms like a vice, her lips at my ear. You do anything to embarrass me tonight, and I will destroy you. I hugged her back, keeping my voice equally low. You've been doing that for 8 years, Mom. Tonight, I'm just telling people about it. She released me, her face frozen in that public smile. Only someone who knew her well would notice the white knuckles, the tension in her jaw. Mrs. Ouellette, lovely party. Daniel extended his hand smoothly. I'm Daniel, Corinne's friend. Thank you for having me. Mom's smile flickered. She hadn't expected a witness, but she recovered fast. Any friend of Corinne's is welcome. We moved into the ballroom. Aunt Ruth waved from a corner table. Uncle Frank nodded from the bar. Cousins I hadn't seen in years whispered among themselves, probably repeating whatever story Mom had spread. 85 pairs of eyes, one red folder. It was time. I found my assigned seat at table 3, close enough to see my parents at the head table, far enough that Mom could pretend we weren't in active warfare. Daniel sat beside me. Aunt Ruth was across the table, along with Uncle Frank, Cousin Lisa, and 2 family friends whose names I'd never learned. Everyone smiled. Everyone asked about my job. Nobody mentioned the elephant they'd all been briefed about. I heard you're doing well at that investment firm, Aunt Ruth said carefully. Your mother says you're very generous. Does she? Ruth shifted in her seat. She mentioned you've been helping with the mortgage. That's very kind, Corinne. Is that what she told you? The table went quiet. Even Uncle Frank stopped mid-sip of his whiskey. That I volunteer this money, I continued, keeping my voice pleasant. That I insist on paying because I feel guilty about my success? That I beg them to let me help? Well, Ruth's eyes darted toward the head table, where Mom was watching. Something like that. Interesting. I let the word hang, didn't explain, didn't elaborate, just returned to my salad and let them marinate in confusion. From across the room, Madison stared at me. She'd dressed in white, virginal, innocent, probably intentional. She looked nervous. Good. At 6:45, the event coordinator tapped the microphone. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Ouellette family, thank you all for celebrating this wonderful milestone. Before dinner is served, we have a special presentation. She consulted her cards. Please welcome Corinne Ouellette, the couple's eldest daughter, who will say a few words and present a very special gift. Applause. Warm, unsuspecting applause. I stood, picked up the red folder, caught Daniel's eye. He nodded once. I walked toward the stage and 85 people had no idea what was coming. Before I tell you what happened next, I want to pause here for a moment, because this, right now, is the point where most people would tell me to stay silent. Keep the peace. Be the bigger person. Let the lies continue. Have you ever been in that position? Where everyone expects you to swallow your truth so they can stay comfortable? Drop a comment and tell me. What would you do right now? Give the speech my mother wrote, or tell the truth? If you're still here with me, hit that like button. Not for the algorithm. For every person who's ever been told their pain doesn't matter because it's family. Okay, let me tell you what I said when I reached that microphone. The microphone was cool in my hand, the spotlight warm on my face. I looked out at the crowd, aunts and uncles who'd watched me grow up, neighbors who'd attended my high school graduation, strangers who only knew the version of Corinne my parents had marketed. The dutiful daughter, the generous one. Thank you all for being here tonight. My voice came out steady, surprising, given the earthquake happening inside my chest. 35 years of marriage is an incredible milestone, and I have so many memories of this family. I paused. Summer camping trips, Christmas mornings, Dad teaching me to change a tire in the driveway. I saw my parents relax slightly. This sounded right. This sounded like what Mom had scripted. But tonight, instead of talking about the past, I want to talk about the present. I took a breath. About what family really means. The first ripple of confusion crossed the crowd. 8 years ago, I got my first real job, And I was so proud, so grateful to finally be able to help my family. I kept my voice calm, measured. Mom needed help with the mortgage. Dad's injury made things tight. Madison needed tuition. I was happy to contribute. Mom's smile was calcifying. Dad had gone pale. And I did contribute, every month, without fail, for 8 years. I paused. I calculated the exact amount recently. Would you like to know what it is? No one answered. No one moved. $384,200. Gasps. Whispers. Aunt Ruth's hand flew to her mouth. That's how much I've given to this family. I looked directly at my mother. And last week, I learned exactly what that money bought me. Mom started to stand. I kept talking. Let me break it down, I said, opening the red folder. $2,400 a month for the mortgage. That's $230,000 over 8 years. The murmuring grew louder. People were doing mental math, expressions shifting from polite interest to genuine shock. $78,000 for Madison's tuition at DePaul. I glanced at my sister, who had frozen mid-reach for her water glass. You're welcome, by the way. Corinne, Mom's voice cut sharp across the ballroom. $1,500 a month in living expenses, I continued over her. $47,300, plus assorted emergencies totaling another $28,500, none of which were ever repaid. This is not appropriate. Mom was standing now, moving toward the stage. And most recently, I said, a European vacation for $28,450, charged to my credit card without my knowledge. As a gift, I was apparently giving you. That was supposed to be a surprise. Mom's public mask was cracking. You agreed? I never agreed to anything. You told me about it after you'd already charged it and announced it to everyone. I looked at the crowd. Has anyone here ever had someone spend nearly $30,000 on their credit card without permission and call it a gift you were giving them? Heads were shaking, whispers intensifying. Aunt Ruth stood up. Corinne, sweetheart, this isn't... There's more. I pulled out my phone. The money isn't even the worst part. Mom lunged toward the stage steps. She's having an episode. I told you all she wasn't stable. On the contrary. I connected my phone to the sound system. I've never been thinking more clearly. My thumb hovered over the play button. This is a recording my sister Madison sent me 4 days ago. She thought it was funny. I pressed play. Mom's voice filled the grand ballroom. She really thinks we love her? What we love is her money. 85 people stopped breathing. Dad's voice came next, laughing. Well, she's always been the naive one. Then Madison. How long do you think she'll keep paying? And Mom again, casual as discussing the weather. As long as she believes we need her. That's her weakness. She needs to feel needed. The recording played for 47 seconds before Mom screamed. Turn it off! That's fake! She fabricated it! I stopped the audio. The silence that followed was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. Not the polite quiet of a ceremony, the stunned, airless vacuum of collective disbelief. It's not fake, I said calmly. The file has metadata showing it was recorded last Sunday at 2:34 p.m. It's been verified by an attorney. The timestamps are intact. There's no editing, no splicing. I looked at Madison, still frozen at her table. And Madison, would you like to tell everyone who recorded this? Who sent it to me with the message, "Guess who has a surprise for you," and a gift emoji? Every head turned toward my sister. She opened her mouth, closed it. Tears started streaming down her face. Whether from guilt or the realization that she'd just become collateral damage in her own sabotage attempt, I couldn't tell. Madison? Uncle Frank's voice was hoarse. Is this true? She didn't answer. She couldn't. I looked at my mother. She stood at the foot of the stage, mascara beginning to run, the perfect facade finally crumbling. You wanted me to give a speech tonight, I said. Consider this my speech. I told the truth, something this family has never done with me. The red folder sat open on the podium. $384,000 worth of receipts, and one devastating recording. The room erupted. Mom charged up the stage steps. "You ungrateful! You're ruining everything! I'm not ruining anything." I stepped back, keeping the podium between us. "I'm just not hiding it anymore. That recording is a lie. We never. Mom?" My voice cut through her panic. 85 people just heard your voice. You said my name. You laughed about me. Dad stood up from the head table, face crimson. "Corinne, this is our anniversary. And you called me naive, Dad. You laughed while Mom said you only love my money." I met his eyes. "Was that funny to you?" He had no answer. Madison bolted from the room, sobbing. One of her friends chased after her. The crowd had begun to fracture. Some people stood frozen, others whispered urgently to neighbors. Uncle Frank pushed back from his table and walked straight toward my mother. "Patricia, is what she's saying true? About the money?" Mom's mouth worked soundlessly. "Is it true? It's it's more complicated than that." "How much?" Frank's voice was rising. "How much have you taken from her?" "I didn't take anything. She offered $384,000. I held up the summary sheet. 8 years of bank records. Every transfer, every emergency, it's all documented. From the corner, a voice I didn't expect. Grandma, still seated, speaking with quiet clarity. "Patricia, you told me Corinne insisted on paying because she felt guilty. You told me she begged you to take the money." Mom spun toward her. "Mother, stay out of this." "I will not." Grandma's eyes were hard. "I spent 60 years building this family's reputation, and you've been lying to all of us." Something cracked in Mom's expression. For the first time in my life, I saw her without a script. The chaos continued swirling. Voices, accusations, the scrape of chairs. But I found a strange pocket of calm at the center of it all. I picked up the red folder and stepped down from the stage. "I'm not here for revenge," I said, loud enough for those nearby to hear. "I'm here to set a record straight." Mom intercepted me at the foot of the stairs. Up close, I could see the panic beneath her rage, the desperate calculation of someone watching their carefully constructed world collapse. "You've destroyed this family," she hissed. "No, I've told the truth about it." I looked at the scattered guests, some leaving, some clustering in shocked conversation, some watching us like we were a car accident they couldn't look away from. "I want to be clear about something," I announced to whoever was still listening. "I'm not asking for repayment. I'm not suing anyone. I'm not trying to punish." I placed the red folder on the nearest table. "I'm simply done. No more monthly transfers. No more emergency loans. No more credit cards used without permission." I paused. If my parents need genuine help in the future, real help, not luxury vacations and shopping sprees, I'm willing to have a conversation. But it will be an honest one. The first honest conversation this family has ever had. Dad sank into the nearest chair, head in his hands. Mom stood rigid, vibrating with fury she couldn't express in front of witnesses. I turned to Grandma. "I'm sorry this happened at a party," I said quietly. "But it was going to happen somewhere. At least now you know." She reached out and squeezed my hand. Her grip was stronger than expected. "I know," she said. "I should have known sooner. I'm sorry I didn't." I kissed her cheek, then I walked toward the exit. The evening air hit my face like cold water. Daniel was right behind me, silent and solid. We crossed the parking lot without speaking, gravel crunching underfoot, the sounds of the party, raised voices, someone crying, fading behind us. I didn't look back. We'd almost reached his car when someone called my name. "Corinne, wait." Grandma stood at the country club entrance, leaning on her cane. The walk across the parking lot had cost her. I could see her breathing hard, but she'd come anyway. I met her halfway. I wanted to say something. Her eyes were bright, though whether from tears or the evening chill I couldn't tell. "You were right. Your mother, I've made excuses for her my whole life. That's just Patricia. She means well. Family is family. She shook her head. I should have seen it sooner. I should have protected you. You didn't know. I didn't want to know. There's a difference. She gripped my arm. Don't let her convince you that you're the villain tonight. You told the truth. That took more courage than anything anyone in that ballroom has ever done. I hugged her, carefully, mindful of her fragile frame. Thank you, Grandma. Take care of yourself. She pulled back. And don't answer your phone for a few days, trust me. I laughed, despite everything. Sound advice. Daniel and I drove away as the sun set over Oakbrook. In the rearview mirror, I could see people trickling out of the country club, clustering in confused groups, probably trying to process what they'd witnessed. How do you feel? Daniel asked. I thought about it. Really thought. Like I've been holding my breath for 8 years, I said finally. And I just exhaled. The Chicago skyline glittered ahead. For the first time, it felt like home. My apartment had never felt quieter. I sat by the window at 10 o'clock p.m., the city lights blurring through glass that needed cleaning. My phone lay face down on the table. I'd silenced it hours ago after the notifications became unbearable. 47 missed calls by my last count. 23 text messages. Probably more by now. I didn't look. Instead, I sat with the silence and let myself feel everything I'd been suppressing since Tuesday night. The grief came first, not for the confrontation, but for the family I'd thought I had. The parents who'd held me as a baby, cheered at my graduations, told me they were proud. Had any of it been real? Or had I always been an investment to them, valued only for returns? The tears came without warning. I hadn't cried since listening to that recording the first time. 4 days of logistics and planning and carefully maintained composure. Now, alone in my studio apartment with the city lights as my only witness, I finally broke. I cried for the 10-year-old who just wanted her parents to be proud. I cried for the 22-year-old who gave away her first paycheck trying to prove she was enough. I cried for the 32-year-old who just learned that enough was never going to happen. At 11 o'clock p.m., I called Rebecca. I did it, I said, voice hoarse. I saw your dad called me twice. Didn't answer. Rebecca's voice was warm. How are you? Really? I don't know. I think I'm sad, but also relieved. Both can be true. Did I do the right thing? She was quiet for a moment. You did the necessary thing. Those aren't always the same, but tonight, they were. I hung up and lay down on my bed. For the first time in years, I slept without dreaming about what I owed anyone. The aftermath came in waves. Monday. Aunt Ruth called. Her voice completely changed from the family forgives message 2 days prior. Corinne, I had no idea. Your mother told us you insisted, that you felt guilty about your success and wanted to contribute. We all believed. She trailed off. I'm so sorry I didn't ask more questions. Thank you for calling, Aunt Ruth. I'm not calling just to apologize. Her voice hardened. I told Patricia what I think of her. We won't be speaking for a while. Tuesday. An email from Madison. Surprisingly long, surprisingly bitter. You ruined my life. I lost my job because my boss is friends with Aunt Sarah and now everyone knows. Are you happy? You got your revenge. I typed back 4 sentences. You sent me that recording to watch me suffer. You laughed about it. Your choices, your consequences. I hope you learn from this. Wednesday. 3 of Dad's friends from church sent formal notes of apology. Actual paper cards mailed to my apartment. They'd believed my parents' version for years. They'd thought Corinne Ouellette was a desperate girl buying affection. Now they knew better. The country club sent an invoice to my parents for the party, marked payment required within 14 days. Apparently having a public scandal at your event affects your membership standing. I learned this from Uncle Frank, who called to give me what he called the situation report. Your parents are refinancing the house, Without your payments, they can't cover the mortgage. He paused. I'm not saying that to make you feel guilty. I don't, I said, and I meant it. 12 family members had stopped speaking to my mother as of Wednesday night. I kept count, not for satisfaction, but for proof that the truth had consequences. 2 weeks after the party, Mom posted on Facebook a carefully crafted paragraph about family struggles and respecting privacy during difficult times. Comments poured in, mostly sympathy, a few probing questions, one pointed response from cousin Lisa that got deleted within minutes. The spin cycle was beginning. I'd expected it. My mother had never met a narrative she couldn't reshape. But then she called me. Are you satisfied now? Her voice was cold, controlled. The mask back in place, just cracked around the edges. The whole church knows. My book club dropped me. Barbara Henderson won't return my calls. And that's my fault? You publicly humiliated us, Corinne. At our anniversary. Do you understand what you've done? I told the truth, Mom. Something you've never tried. The truth, she laughed bitterly. You think anyone cares about truth? They care about appearances, respect, stability, things you destroyed in 5 minutes. I destroyed them? I let that hang. You said, on recording, that you don't love me. You only love my money. That was taken out of context. What context makes that acceptable? Silence. I'm not apologizing, she said finally. We raised you, fed you, put a roof over your head for 18 years. That costs money too. You owe us. Children aren't debts to collect, Mom. You wouldn't understand. You've never sacrificed anything. I ended the call. But something unexpected happened that evening. My phone rang again. A different number. Dad's personal cell, the one he rarely used. Corinne. His voice was tired, older than I remembered. I'm not calling to argue, I wanted to say I'm sorry. I said nothing. Your mother's wrong, he continued. I know that. I've always known it. I just never had the courage to say so. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was a start. I want to pause here and ask you something. If you've watched this far, you probably see yourself somewhere in this story. Maybe you're the one who always pays. Maybe you're the one everyone calls too sensitive when you finally speak up. Maybe you've been told that protecting yourself is the same as betraying your family. Here's what I've learned. Boundaries aren't walls. They're doors. You get to decide who comes in. Drop a comment and tell me, have you ever set a boundary that changed your life? What happened? And if this story has meant something to you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Sometimes knowing you're not alone is the first step. Okay, let me tell you what happened next. 1 month after the party, I sat in Dr. Ellen Park's office for my 4th session, the business card Daniel had given me now worn soft at the edges from handling. How does it feel, she asked, not to transfer that $2,400? I thought about it. The first of the month had passed 3 days ago. For the first time in 8 years, I hadn't moved money to my parents' account. No mortgage payment, no living expenses, nothing. Terrifying, I admitted. And also, light, like I put down a backpack I didn't realize I was carrying. Dr. Park nodded. Guilt can feel like responsibility. They're not the same thing. That afternoon, I did something I'd never done. I walked into a real estate office. I'm looking to buy a condo, I told the agent, a cheerful woman named Sandra. 2 bedrooms, Lincoln Park area if possible. She pulled up listings. With my salary, my full salary, no longer siphoned away, and my credit score, I qualified for more than I'd imagined. You could be in a place by spring, Sandra said. Let me show you some options. I looked at pictures of sunlit kitchens and balconies overlooking tree-lined streets, spaces that were mine, truly mine. No one else's name on the deed, no one else's expectations built into the walls. That evening, Daniel and Rebecca came over for dinner. I actually cooked, not microwaved, for the first time in months. To new beginnings, Daniel said, raising his glass. Rebecca clinked hers against it. To Corinne, who finally chose herself. I looked around my tiny studio, soon to be traded for something bigger. These two people, friends who'd shown up without conditions, without invoices, they were my family now. The blood kind was optional. This kind was chosen. 3 months after the party, Dad sent an email. Not a text, not a call, an email, like he needed the distance of written words to say what he couldn't speak aloud. Corinne, I've been thinking a lot about the last 32 years, about the kind of father I was and the kind I should have been. I always knew your mother went too far. I knew the money situation was wrong. I knew you were being used. And I said nothing. I told myself it was easier to stay quiet than to fight her. I told myself you seemed fine, so it must be okay. Those were lies I told myself so I could sleep at night. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know that I love you, not for your money, for you. I should have said that a long time ago. If you're willing, I'd like to see you, without your mother, just to talk. Dad. I read the email 3 times before responding. We met at a coffee shop near my apartment. Neutral ground, my territory. He looked smaller than I remembered, grayer, like the last 3 months had aged him a decade. Thank you for coming, he said. I almost didn't. We sat in silence for a moment. Then he started talking. Not excuses, acknowledgments. He talked about his own father, who'd never said I love you once. He talked about marrying Patricia because she seemed strong and certain, everything he wasn't. He talked about watching her control the family finances and telling himself it wasn't his business. None of that makes it right, he finished. I just want you to understand why, even if understanding doesn't change anything. I can have a relationship with you, I said carefully, but not if Mom's part of it. He nodded slowly. I understand. 6 months after the party, Mom never apologized. I didn't expect her to. Through the family grapevine, mostly Aunt Ruth, who'd become my unexpected ally, I learned she'd rewritten the story entirely. In her version, I'd had a mental breakdown, stress from work, probably. The recording was manipulated or taken out of context. She was the victim of an ungrateful daughter who turned on her own mother over a misunderstanding. Some people believed her. That was fine. The people who mattered knew the truth. Madison sent one final message before blocking me on everything. I hope you're happy with what you've done. You took everything from us. Mom cries every day. Dad barely talks. I had to move in with a friend because I can't afford rent. This is all your fault. I wrote a response in my notes app, typed it all out, every angry word, every justified defense, then deleted it without sending. Instead, I wrote in my journal what Dr. Park had suggested. Madison made a choice when she sent that recording. She wanted to hurt me. She succeeded, but not in the way she intended. I can grieve the sister I thought I had without taking responsibility for the sister she chose to be. The door wasn't locked. If Madison ever wanted to have an honest conversation, a real one, with accountability and growth, I'd listen, but I wasn't going to chase her. I'd spent 32 years chasing my family's approval. I was done running. Some relationships can heal, some can't. The wisdom is knowing which is which and accepting that you can't control anyone's choices but your own. I chose peace. Whatever they chose was their business. 6 months after the party, March, I signed the papers on a Wednesday afternoon, a 2-bedroom condo in Lincoln Park with exposed brick walls and windows that caught the afternoon sun. My name on the deed, nobody else's. The housewarming party was small. Rebecca, Daniel, a few colleagues from work who'd become actual friends. Dad came alone, awkward in the corner, but trying. And Grandma, who'd insisted on bringing her famous apple pie despite barely being able to walk. I'm proud of you, she said, surveying the empty rooms that would soon be filled with furniture I'd chosen myself. Not just for this place, for all of it. Even the party? She smiled, that sharp intelligence still bright behind her aging eyes. Especially the party. Someone needed to say what everyone was thinking. I'm just sorry it had to be you. Rebecca raised her glass as we gathered in the living room. To Corinne Willette, who bought a condo, got an 8% raise, and started a blog that has, she checked her phone, 12,000 subscribers, all in 6 months. The blog had been an accident. I'd started writing anonymously about financial boundaries in families, expecting maybe a handful of readers. Instead, the messages poured in. Thousands of people who recognized themselves in my story, who'd given too much for too long to people who only loved what they could take. I wasn't alone. None of us were. To new beginnings, Daniel said. We clinked glasses. Through the window, the March evening softened over the city I'd lived in for a decade but never quite claimed as mine. This apartment, these friends, this life, this was what I'd been paying for all along without knowing it. Not their approval. My freedom. 1 year after the party. I'm writing this from my living room, coffee cooling beside me, morning light spilling across the keyboard. The condo still smells faintly of the lavender candles Rebecca gave me last week. A lot has changed. I'm still a senior financial analyst, but I got promoted to lead a team of 4. My salary increased. My savings account has actual savings in it. I went to Hawaii last month, my first real vacation in 8 years. The blog has grown, 18,000 subscribers now. I write about boundaries, about financial abuse disguised as family duty, about the courage it takes to say no more. Every week I get emails from people who said they finally had the conversation with their own families. Some relationships survived it, some didn't. All of them are more honest. Grandma passed 3 months ago. I was there at the end, holding her hand. Mom didn't come to the hospice. She and Grandma had stopped speaking after the party. I gave the eulogy. It was easier than I expected. Dad and I meet once a month for coffee. It's not the relationship I dreamed of as a child, but it's real. He's in therapy now, working through his own history of silence and avoidance. We don't talk about Mom unless he brings it up, which is rare. Madison is still out there somewhere, still not speaking to me. Maybe one day she'll be ready to have an honest conversation. Maybe she won't. Either way, my life moves forward. That's the thing nobody tells you about setting boundaries. It doesn't fix everything. It doesn't make the pain disappear. What it does is give you room to build something new. And that's enough. More than enough. Before I go, I want to share something my therapist helped me understand. My mother grew up poor. Not tight budget poor, wondering if there would be dinner poor. That kind of childhood leaves marks. It creates a scarcity mindset, a desperate need to control resources, a belief that security comes from accumulation. When I became successful, she didn't see a daughter to be proud of. She saw a solution to a fear that had haunted her for 60 years. Understanding that doesn't excuse what she did, but it explains it. And me? I was a textbook people pleaser. I needed to be needed because somewhere deep down, I believed that was the only way to be loved. Every time I sent money, I was really asking, am I enough now? Do you see me yet? The answer was always no, but I kept asking anyway, because I didn't know another way. Here's what I've learned, and what I hope you take from this story. First, if someone only shows up when they need something, that's not a relationship. That's a transaction. You deserve better. Second, being related by blood doesn't automatically mean being loved. Love is shown through actions, through respect, through honoring boundaries. If those things are absent, the word family is just a label. Third, setting a boundary might cost you a relationship. But if the relationship only existed because you had no boundaries, you didn't lose anything real. Now, I want to ask you something. Have you ever been in a situation where you had to choose between your peace and someone else's comfort? What did you do? What do you wish you'd done differently? Drop a comment. Tell me your story. Because every time someone shares, someone else realizes they're not alone. If you want to hear more stories like this, check the description for more videos. And if this one meant something to you, you know what to do. Thank you for being here with me. Until next time.